invite YB Nik Nazmi Nik Ahmad, the Honourable Minister of Natural Resources and Environmental Sustainability of Malaysia, for his special address. Dipersilakan YB.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi taala wabarakatuh. Salam sejahtera, selamat pagi. Salam Malaysia Madani. Yang berbahagia Datuk Muhammad Faiz Azmi, Executive Chairman of Securities Commission Malaysia. I think I've been very fortunate to be able to witness your first speech as Executive Chairman. Yang Mulia Tengku Zarina Tengku Cik, Professor Tan Sri Dr. Jamilah, ladies and gentlemen, members of the floor. First of all, I'd like to extend my appreciation to the Securities Industry Development Corporation for giving me the opportunity to deliver the special address as well as to speak at the Planetary Health and Sustainability Discourse at this important conference. My first time in this building was in the year 2000. I was applying for a scholarship. And I think although I did get the scholarship, but another JLC got me first. I have to say that at that time, and I think until today, your scholarship interview process is the most rigorous. At the age of 18, I had to write an essay on capital markets, and the internet was nothing like what it is today. Anyway, so it's good to be here, and I think what the SC is trying to do, what Malaysian institutions and businesses are trying to do has been truly impressive. We know we've heard from Tan Sri Jamilah, most of us know what the state of our planet today is. Plastic pollution. Before this, we know that they are already in unborn babies. But now, the latest studies say that they're causing infertility for men. Because there are too many men running the world, maybe this will be the time that we will wake up and do something about it. COVID, it's linked to biodiversity loss. Because of increasing conflict between human and wildlife, we end up getting COVID and it infected the whole planet. We get used to deaths from floods, landslides, now falling trees. And, as we heard just now, there are estimates that a few hundred people have died in Mecca during this Hajj season. 14 from Jordan, as far as numbers have been reported, others. And again, there is a lot of underreporting. As far as my ministry, there's a poor source of information. Last year, 2 people died from heat strokes, from what we gather. This year, 3. But I think it's time that me and Tan Sri Jamilah sit down with Dr. Zul and find how we can approach this in a truly comprehensive manner. London, we've heard about ULEZ. You should really read the book by the mayor, Sadiq Khan. And contrary to what most politicians believe, even in his own party, he actually won his re-election after doing ULEZ. And why did he become so passionate was because in his mid-40s, he tried to run his first marathon out of a dare. He managed to do that within the time, but he developed adult-onset asthma because the state of the air in London. And I think this is something that made him realize that more needs to be done to address low-carbon mobility in the city. And even in Malaysia, actually, as much as we always think that we're not doing enough, KL has started its car-free morning, but then I said just 3-4 hours is not good enough. Malacca has done it 54 hours, entire weekend. I just knew about it. I think the Chief Minister introduced it not long after he was appointed last year. Very unpopular initially. A lot of noise on the press and all that. But I think credit to the state government for doing it in the middle of the historical city of Malacca. Malaysia car-free is something we cannot add up. But I think we have to finally make it happen. So the challenge is how do we can be fatalists and say that nothing can be done, but that's wrong. We still have that window of doing something. It's closing but the window is still there. So I think I spoke to the chairman. I think if all of us in this room, me representing the government, we have various institutions, SC, Bank Negara, the various banks, if all of us put our act together, I think we stand a chance. Why? Because we keep hearing things like, let's eat less meat, let's fly less, and that's all well and good for individual actions, but that's also a strategy, just like what Big Tobacco did, just like what Big Oil did. They are doing. They're trying to push back the responsibility to individuals. But if the government and corporates actually do something, then we stand a chance. So I think one of the things that people don't realize, that our net zero target previously, it was actually stated as early as 2050. What does that mean? That means that when your mom asks you, when are you going to get married? And you tell your mom, as early as I'm 30, right? But you may not get married until you're 50, and you're not lying to your mom. So it's not good enough. And last week we had a meeting of the Climate Action Council, chaired by the PM. We discussed at length about this. We said, can we give a definite later date? But eventually we decided that we will go with 2050 full stop. That's a major change. People do not realize it because people tend to forget when they repeat that thing, as early as is a very cumbersome thing. But we said, let's just do this, and we will become the beacon for climate action in the region. But it's not going to be easy. It's not going to be cheap. We've started by doing the subsidy retargeting. So I have had to explain to my classmates, I've had to explain to my voters, they keep individually WhatsApping me and saying, no, I'm paying more, I'm doing this. And I understand, it is tough times for many Malaysians. But if we do not make this difficult decision, then we are going to not do it. I mean, there's always an excuse not to do it. There were people in government who told us, let's wait until we've won our second or third term to do it, right? And we can keep on prolonging that, but we will not be able to do something. To me, we have to bite the bullet and make the difficult decisions, because that's the only way we stand a chance of doing something in reaching our targets to save the planet. I mean, that sounds like, comic book stuff, but in reality it is. This is the challenge that we have. The hard work in front of us is immense. And I think you do your work, to find ways to raise funds, to make it workable, make it bankable. I think what the banks did initially, you started by making it difficult for energy companies to build coal plants, right? But now, I mean, I hear good news about Malaysian banks making it easier to also giving out green financing. We will have to do the other job of making that compelling narrative of selling this to the public. But that is, of course, our job, right? And I think we need to work hand in hand, because it's a major challenge that for us to do this. And it's not just Malaysia. The world over, all these ambitious climate goals, business as usual today, will not achieve those goals, even in the most advanced economies. What more Malaysia? And we know, I mean, when I go to COP, when I go to international events, we speak about climate injustice. But at the end of the day, the reality is, Malaysia is still, per capita, we still emit more carbon than the average population on the planet. That is something that we have to accept. As a small country, yes, we contribute 0.67%. And yes, other countries have been cutting forests in their country and our country and taking the minerals and taking the oil for many, many years. But at the end of the day, we have to make sure that we can play our part so that we stand a chance of survival. Things like, how do we face floods, right? Last year, the government actually approved the flood hazard map. And it's very controversial. Why? A lot of developers do not like it. And still now, there is still some pushback. There is a cabinet decision that said that this should be shared you know, with all the insurers and all that, because we can't go on. Remember 2014, the major floods in Kelantan, 2021 in Selangor. The government can't go on to bankroll and just, you know, spend money because we have a tight fiscal situation. But what we need to do is to ensure that this is able to be insured by the institutions and that the people can be covered. We are working on mitigation, we are working on adaptation, and this is, you know, it's a lot of work. And I think, since, you know, I think the value will be in Q&A, moderated by Tan Sri Jamila. But let me give you this. In terms, why do we need to do this? I mean, as I said, that window of opportunity to take action. But also as far as the younger generation is concerned, the Gen Zs, I don't know what will come after Gen Z, but they have a different mindset. During my time, our dream, my generation's dream was whatever you studied, you may be an engineering graduate, a law graduate, your dream is to get hired in London as an investment banker. I tried, again, I did not get that. But today's Gen Z, their aspirations, their objectives, it's not so much to get the highest salary or just a stable job. But what they want is a greener company, not in a political sense, but in a financial sense or in a sustainability sense of companies that are doing the right thing in terms of sustainability, in terms of facing the triple planetary crisis. So my challenge to all of you, the important people in this room today, is that we take action. Greenwashing will not do it because people will be able to see through you. You can get away with it for a bit, but the young people and with the social media and what they have today, they can see through it. So I hope that this is enough to show you that you have a government that is listening, but is also leading and trying to send the right signals. 2 weeks into my job last year, or in 2022, I had to do this ICPT announcement, retargeting of electric subsidies, right? And I wanted to do it through a PDF, but a colleague of mine said, you should own it, learn about it, and face the press, and engage the press. And we did that through 3 cycles. We also raised the water tariffs. So, fortunately for my mental health, I'm not doing that anymore. But I think we hope that you can support us so that we can really unlock, as mentioned by Tan Sri Jamila, there's a lot of money that we need to embark on this transition. So again, thank you very much for having me here. And again, it's a pleasure to be back at the SC. Thank you.
Thank you so much, YB. Ladies and gentlemen, you can actually pose your questions to YB and Tan Sri Jamila on the Slido with the QR code that has been shared with you earlier, while the team